And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. This is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. And today we do have as our guest a podcaster. I know that shocks everybody. My name is Rory Paquette. I am your host. Love this job, love communicating with you folks, love my guests. This is just honestly the best place I could ever ask to be. Thank you for being here with me. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. We take care of each other, we look out for each other, and we support one another. That's what podcasters are supposed to do, and we do it here. Thank you again for being here. I want to thank everybody one more time also for all of the sharing, the liking, the subscribing, and everything that you guys are doing to help our podcast grow. It's been huge. It's one of the reasons why we're growing by leaps and bounds the way we are and why we've been able to get back on track. And I want to thank everybody for their patience also while I got through my surgery and we got things back on track. I especially want to thank my guest today for waiting, for doing this a second time because we needed to do it better. And I really appreciate your patience there. Please welcome to the show. Let me make sure I get all this right because this woman does a ton of stuff and she's amazing. Author of 101 Answers from the Universe, astro life coach, master astrologer, clairvoyant, life and business coach, and host of the Ask Holly Hall podcast on YouTube and all of your platforms. Please welcome Holly Hall. How you doing, Holly?
I'm great, Rory. How are you doing?
I'm much better than the last
I'm
time you and
so
I
glad to
talked.
see you on the other side here.
You were one of those podcasts that was sort of happening right as everything was
Yeah,
really hitting me before I
yeah.
ended up in the hospital. And you've been so unbelievably gracious and patient with me just getting you back on the show and willing to sit down a second time and do all of this. Thank you
No
for all of
problem.
that. It means a lot to me.
No problem. I'm just glad you're better. And hey, maybe this won't be the second time. Maybe it'll be a third and a fourth time too.
It's,
Uh,
I
but
would
but
love
not
that.
but for good reason, for good reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. And I'm not going back to the hospital for nothing. So we can
No.
forget that. All
No.
right. Holly, you have a ton of stuff going on. Tell everybody a little bit about the show, who you are, what you're about.
Yeah, so basically, I do have a podcast within my YouTube channel called The Intelligent Soul. That's where I interview some experts. But my basic channel, Ask Holly Hall, is all about astrology, my insights, my downloads, my global predictions, views, what's going on week by week. I do a weekly, I do a monthly, and also talk about personal astrological stuff, a little bit of teachings and learnings in there. They're all subcategory, within the Ask Holly Hall YouTube, which of course goes to also to Spotify, Apple, and all the different platforms there, and my TikTok, all under the handle of Ask Holly Hall, which is also my website, askhollyhall.com. And that's basically because people ask me questions and I give them answers. And that's, kind of like a columnist, right?
Right.
Ask Abby. Um, and yeah, so that's basically what I do.
Okay. Now you do readings, uh,
Absolutely.
right? And that's astrological readings.
Yeah,
And tell everybody some of the services that you offer, that you perform, and what they're about.
right. So when I meet somebody brand new, thanks for asking. This is, they're a new client. They've heard about me from somebody else. I am quite busy working. I was endorsed by Dr. Shafali, who is a mainstream psychologist that focuses on conscious parenting. I read for her prior to her being on Oprah. She asked me to predict what would happen with her book, her manuscript that she sent to Oprah. That was like 8 years ago. No, about ten years ago. And I had a radio station that I owned, and she was one of our guests. So I predicted her fame on Oprah, which is what happened. And few years later, she endorsed me, which was really cool because I'm not mainstream and she's mainstream. And that got me quite popular. So when I get a brand new client, I basically tell them I'm a life coach. I use sidereal Vedic astrology as my base. During that, I get clairvoyance, which is I see things, I hear things, I know things. I get remote viewing, which I see things that are happening around you and people that's happening around you that is important for you to know about what you want to manifest, what you want to work through. I also have trained in neurolinguistic programming, which helps. It's a type of psychology. I'm trained in past life regression hypnosis therapy, and I went to school for psychology and philosophy. I didn't graduate, but I went to school for it. It's always been a fascination for me what makes people tick. I was a skeptic when I first got into astrology in my early 20s. Somebody gave me a book, said I might like it. I went, I don't think so, because I had this scientific mind. I was still determined to go back to school. And yeah, I just grabbed onto it. I understood it. It made sense to me. I'm going to age myself. It was before computers. So I actually had to do a 2.5 page long division mathematical to draw up the chart of the sky because that's what it is. It's a chart of the sky. It's what astronomers would look at. It's literally astronomers look at the same ephemeris that we do. We
Wow.
just interpret it as something else, as the blueprint of your soul.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, wow. I mean, you just unpacked a lot. So I think when I told
It's
everybody
a lot.
you have a lot going on, I think I only knew half the story. So that's holy moly. All right.
I
So
did a reading for you. I did a session with you.
you offered to do a session with me. We haven't done it yet.
I didn't send it to you?
No, you did one for me, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I
Did
didn't
I
get
send
that
it
from
to you?
you.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one
Oh,
up.
well,
But
that's
yeah,
why I'm sitting here going, I didn't know about it. Did you really?
I have to do a session with you then if I haven't. I mean, what I'd like to do it before we even do podcasts. But yeah,
Okay. Well, we're already on the podcast, so we'll
we'll
do
have to
that.
do it.
But right. But if you
We'll
want
have
to
to
do it
do it.
afterwards, I'll stick around on the
Yeah,
Zoom and
I
do it with
will.
you. All right.
I
You
will.
just absolutely just made my whole day.
I will.
Okay. I'm like, did you really? Or did you just do one on me and you didn't tell me about it? Like to see if I was going to make it or
I just
something.
looked it up. I don't see you in my database, so I guess I didn't. I guess we just talked a
Ah,
lot about it and never happened.
I think that's what happened because we talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
And that was again, I'm going to go back. You were very, very supportive when I was, recovering. And so we did
Yeah.
talk a lot, and that was nice.
Yeah.
That was one of those nice things that sort of helped me get through, and I appreciate that again.
Oh, thank you.
So, the if I can back up for a second, when I was going through all that, it was amazing how much this community of the Podcaster Nation was so incredibly uplifting and supportive, as
You had a
opposed
lot of
to
support.
I really, really did. It was crazy,
You did.
and we had just got this going. It was
Yeah.
maybe a month old when I went down.
Yeah.
So, but you and folks like you really, really lifted me up through that. So it was great.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Um, Back to you, because this isn't about me
Okay.
right now. This is about you. Stop trying to change the subject. All
Okay.
right. So, the readings. Now that's the astrologer readings. The clairvoyant life. Those readings. Those are a little
Right.
different, right? Those don't have anything to do with charts, do they?
It organically happened. So I use the
Okay.
base of an astrology chart and the what's called an ephemeris, which is where all the planets are in the sky right now, up against where all the planets are in the sky when you were born. And as I'm doing that, and this just happened organically throughout the last 8 years, I started using metaphors or little stories to try to explain what I meant. And I'd be like, "Oh, it's as if you and your husband went to this kind of a restaurant and you had this conversation, and if he said this to you, this is how you would react. That's what I'm trying to say." And they'd be like, "That is like exactly what happened." He
Hmm.
said that word for word. It
Wow.
was at a restaurant, and I'd be like, "Oh wow, okay." And the more and more I did that, the more I started realizing that some people would call it clairvoyance or or psychic, but I believe clairvoyance and psychic it's similar, but it's more about the future. This is remote viewing is exactly what's happening right around you right now or in the recent past that I'm able to see. And this is a real thing. You can look it up. It's called Stargate. It's not the recent Stargate program that they're talking about now in politics. It's an old one that they did with the CIA. They did a movie about it, Men at Stare at Goats. It's a thing. So as I'm reading I'm starting to see a whole bunch of other things. And I think it's astrology. I thought it was. A lot of my astrology friends have said to me, that's not astrology, Holly. That's something a little more. So I am definitely reading a chart and then it becomes like, you know what it reminds me of? You know when you get those books, those pop-up books,
Hmm.
and you go like this and the whole book sort of pops up. like a scenery. That's
Yeah,
kind of what I see. This whole scenery starts to come out, and I share it with people, and it helps them make better choices and different decisions, helps them let go of limiting beliefs, what is holding them back from manifesting. I can see that clearly, what's holding them back when it comes to manifesting, why they're going through what they're going through, how to, you know, latch on to opportunities that are coming their way so that they don't miss the opportunity. You look back, anybody can look back in their life and go, "Ugh, I missed that boat," or I could have, should have done this and that, or what ifs.
right.
And I kind of help eliminate that. Let's not would have, should have, could have, or what if. Let's make sure that you take this opportunity right now. And it could be simple as a job change. A lot, it could be as simple as a move and whatever, or it could be financial abundance. And I can clearly see what's holding them back from financial abundance and help them re-navigate or recalibrate to walk through it. And I can't tell you, Rory, how many people have said, "Are you in my head? Like, are you spying on me? Are you in my house? Like, how do you know this stuff verbatim?" But I do, and it helps. I've got thousands of clients that I work with. I'm busy, been busy ever since I was endorsed, and I just love it. I'm like you. It's like the best job on the planet. I want to do this to my last breath if I can.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let me. You talked a lot about things that you've studied. And so I don't want to take anything away from all the hard work you've put in. But at some point, the education that you've gained and what you've learned stops and your gifts start. You clearly have those. So when did you first notice that kind of thing? How did that manifest and how did that all come about?
that's a great question. I was my mother is a second generation psychic. Believe it or not, my mother's mother was the first of the gypsies to settle down. And
Wow.
because gypsies are transient, and a lot in Europe, in Hungary, there's a lot of them. And so her mother was the first to settle. My mother had the gifts as well, but I grew up a really logical, practical person, not feeling like I had the gift. I wanted it to be like so obvious. I wanted if I was going to see someone that passed on, they better be standing in my room looking like you look, like I want it that obvious or it's just not happening. So when I was 13, one of their famous psychic friends said that I was gifted. They said, "You have a 13-year-old in the room. I want you." Put her on the phone. That was me. And he told me I was psychic. And I thought I was just giving common sense. I always think I'm just giving common sense advice that is obvious to everybody. So that's what I did. I was telling this story when I was 21 to a coworker, and he gave me the book, The Only Way to Learn Astrology, and said, "You might like this. I'm a skeptic and I'm a philosopher. And if you're a true philosopher, you never turn down any opportunity to learn something and then critique it according to that information." And like I said earlier, I just picked it up so fast. And I kind of put it on the back burner. I started just studying intuition and mediumship and still working. Um, I had a regular job. And then, yeah, not about 10 years ago, it really picked. Like I said, I started a radio station, an online radio station. I had all kinds of hosts on there that were similar. And it started just getting stronger and stronger. When people say to me, "I think I have gifts, but I'm taking courses and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and it's not happening." I'm like, "Because you have to put it into practice. If you don't, the more and more I did it, the more and more other modalities started coming out of me. We
Hmm.
are we are born this way. Every one of us is born this way, but we get indoctrinated by society, and we're never taught to use these gifts we have, so they go dormant. It's a natural process in the brain. Our neural pathways will go dormant when they're not used,
Hmm.
and you can make them come back alive again. If hopefully if you can do it before the age of 7, but if you really work on it, you'll get the gifts back.
Wow. Okay. So when did you start to really figure it out? When did you start to say, "Hey, I think this is me"? Do you remember, or was it before you
Yeah,
can
I would say
remember
it was
because you've
about
always done it?
21 when I read the book, Astrology.
Yeah.
But I'd say that I really knew I was clairvoyant and remote viewing about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's kind of a recent
Yeah,
scenario
not
for
that
you.
long ago.
Yeah, 8 years is like a drop in the bucket when you get going. But
I know.
yeah, okay. So
I
what?
think I had it a long before that, but I didn't recognize it as that.
So what is it that makes somebody like you say, "Hey, I want to. Not only do I have this, but I want to learn more about it. I want to study these other disciplines also, put it all together,
Mm.
and do it for a living."
Yeah, I think that happened organically with being endorsed. It was just it really helps people, and I just really liked it the way that it helped people, and I found it fascinating. I always wanted to be in that the kind of woo-woo land since I was in my 20s, but my practical side was fighting against it too. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure exactly when that threshold was.
Hmm. Okay, good deal. Um, what happened with the radio station? Did you end up selling that, or did you just decide you
I
want to
did. I
stop
sold
doing it,
it.
or did you? I had a
Yeah.
feeling it was one of those things. So,
Yeah,
all right,
I
so you
ended up
sell
selling
that,
it.
and then you now how far in between when you sold it and you just started doing podcasting? I'm just curious.
Just a few years, like a couple of years.
So you were already
Yeah.
into the showmanship part of it. You were already, putting everything out,
Yeah.
verbally and stuff on the radio.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much of a leap, I'm guessing, to get
No,
into the
not at all.
podcasting portion of it.
Yeah, I really enjoy interviewing people. I really enjoy, uh, yeah, I really enjoy the process of finding out, asking all the questions, just like you, I enjoy that
Right.
part of it. And I like being interviewed too. I like the conversations, I like, and radio, actually the audio version is still more popular than video, as much as according to the statistics, audio is still about 60% people listen more to audio than the Then and I gotta admit that too. Even the YouTube podcasters that I follow, I'll put it on and listen to it at night as I'm sleeping or as I'm driving. I'm not even watching it.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
think
just
that the
enjoy it.
transit part of it has a lot to do with that. A lot of us listen to podcasts while we're driving to and from, we're multitasking,
Yeah.
so we're trying to make the best use of our travel
Walking,
time,
jogging, working
walking,
out.
all
Yeah.
those things I'm supposed to be doing. Thanks very much, Doc. I appreciate you
Yeah.
reminding me. But yeah, when we have that time, and so we're not, affixed with our vision onto something necessarily, but that's why
Yeah.
audio podcasting is so big. Now, and
Yeah.
you're on all the platforms, so I know everybody can
Yeah.
reach you in both.
Yeah.
Um, tell me about the book that I keep looking at behind you. I know we talked about that last time, so I want to make sure that we cover that too because
Yeah.
that's pretty
That's a
cool.
wacky story.
That's pretty cool,
So
right? Where did that
in
come
uh
from?
in 2019, I got a download. That's what I call them. Some people call them guides or angels or God or, clairvoyance, but I call them downloads. So in 2019, I got a download that I had to write this book. And you couldn't tell me I was going to be an author. There's no way. I don't have the patience, and I'm not a writer. If you read the book, you'll see like some grammar mistakes and stuff,
Oh,
but it's a great book. So and they said you have to call it 101 Answers from the Universe. You have to call it Eyes Wide Open, 2020 sort of thing. And that's in the intro. And you have to have this, the golden ratio is on there, the sign of the symbol of the golden ratio. So I had to have it done by 2020. They wanted me to have it done in January. So all summer I'm writing this book and I'm getting it is very similar, I have to say, not the answers, not the dialogue, but the format is similar to Conversations with God. I never read Conversations with God, nor did I have an interest to, so I didn't really realize that. But it's 100 questions that came to me organically as we went, and I downloaded all the answers. The book is completely downloaded. And it does start off with God. That the first 13 questions is all about, is there a God? What is God? How is there God? And then it goes more into why are we here? Uh, what are soulmates? What is reincarnation? Why is there suffering on the earth? And it's just nonstop. what I didn't know is what was going to happen in February of 2020, which it came out early February because I had some problems. And the idea that I mean, any of us that are a little bit new agey, I guess, the last 5 years has been very eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I think they wanted me to write the book for these times.
interesting.
And I don't have like, I really don't promote it a lot. I'm not a business person that way. It's just been organically sold myself on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and that. But for the most part, people enjoy it. It's a very quick, easy read.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you give us one example out of there? I mean, is it something that you could read and kind of give everybody just an idea
Sure.
of, hey, this is what you could expect. What's a question and maybe what's an answer?
Sure. Uh, Let me see if it just randomly.
In all
Okay,
fairness,
so
I should have warned you so you could have picked one out.
there's
This
a
is
whole
totally
section.
off the
Okay,
cuff.
there's a whole. This one's my favorite. There's a whole section on, like, everybody's heard of 3D, 5D, 4D,
Yep.
9, all this stuff, right? So there's a whole place. There's a chapter called A Place Like Heaven, and the question 31 is, what are the other dimensions like? Okay, because before that, it talks about how we are trying to achieve to go to all these dimensions, and
Hmm.
every time we graduate from Earth, we get to a new dimension. We're trying to get to a level up to a new dimension. It might take a lot of lifetimes to just level up one dimension, but the answer to that is other dimensions are where you are now on Earth, on other planets, and some are in space. You Yet some are in nothingness. There are an infinite number of dimensions after the ninth dimension. You see, after the ninth dimension, there is no specific order. What we mean is that this is that after the ninth dimension, there's an infinite amount of choices, and there are many places you can experience. Number 32, do we have do we ever see these places that are in the other dimensions after the ninth dimension? Or are humans void of this experience? So then it talks about what we do between the seventh and the ninth dimension after
Hmm.
death, which you'd probably better off to read that. But the whole gist of it, just to summarize it, is that they talk that the one and third to from the one and a third dimension, and that our planet is in the third dimension right now. We we graduate, we're more human, we're more materialistic, we more gravitate towards desire, we're more gravitating towards our survival, and we become very tribal and we're survival instinct. And when we get from the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that's another group. Then we start evolving, more understanding our gifts and our talents and how we're all one and how we're connected. So we're going right now from the third to the fourth, but it's a big chunk. Like the one, two, and three are together, and then it's like going from grade school to high school. So now we're going to the four, five, and six, starting in the fourth. And then the next one is the six, seven, eight, and nine. And some people are in the seven, eight, and nine, and they've sacrificed themselves to come to Earth to become healers, to help people move and grow and graduate. Because we ultimately, all of us souls want to graduate to the ninth, up to the ninth dimension, and then after that, you're free to do whatever you want in other dimensions. And the higher you get, the more choices you have as a soul. The lower you are, you just keep coming back like Groundhog Day. You just keep
Wow.
coming back to Earth over and over again. This is the downloads that I receive. I don't have facts on it. A lot of people resonate with it. If it doesn't resonate with you, then that's okay too. Sometimes I even kind of shook. There was things I had to look up in a dictionary. Like, is that a word that would fit in this sentence? And it would. And I'd be like, okay. So
Nice.
basically, we're all here to raise the collective vibration and get to that highest dimension so that we have free. And one of us just can't fly the coop and enjoy all utopian. We're going to feel compelled to come back because we all have to get there,
Hmm.
if
That's
that makes
fascinating.
sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
you are such a trooper. I have to say this because I didn't warn you about that at all. I didn't give
No,
you
I
any
know.
kind
I
of
was
like
like, I haven't read
heads
my
up,
own book in a while.
and you just were like, okay, thanks. I got to come up with something right now on the spot, and you did. And I just
But I,
love that you rolled with that. Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
For
Thank
doing
you. I
it.
remember what I wrote. Like I remember the whole concepts of my book, but reading it
Sure.
verbatim was a different experience.
Yeah, I definitely should have prepped you for that one. I apologize, but
That's
you
okay.
handled beautifully. All right. Okay. And I asked you if you had courses or anything right now. You said not right now. And you've got
Mm-mm.
some. So you're doing different kinds of readings for people. You've got the book, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Is there something I'm leaving out here that you offer in terms of a service to somebody or something that you perform? Anything that I'm missing
My favorite
because you
thing
do a
is
lot.
life.
So
My favorite thing is life coaching. I have
there we go.
a couple of handfuls of clients that purchase 10 readings at a time, 10 sessions. I shouldn't say readings because it doesn't go that far.
Okay.
10 sessions at a time. And I'm able to watch them manifest in a year's time. I got clients that are on their third package. They just keep coming back. I'm their life coach, I'm their therapist, I'm their consultant. And they're able to contact me in between sessions if they want to update me, send me emails, ask me a one-off question that they're struggling with something. That's my favorite. If every one of my clients were like that, I feel that I'm of a disservice when I just do a one-off session, a one-off reading. Because I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm going to give you a whole whack of information in 1 hour that will change your life. But if you never listen to this again, because I'll record them all, or if you don't work on it with somebody that will make you accountable, the- it's not really going to work. Just the 1 hour won't be enough. I really push people listen to this over and over and over again, and I give them future dates. So I'll tell them listen to it again, write down all those dates, and in those dates, listen to the session again. If you're not going to come back, having a session, but 75% of my clients, uh, I would say more 60% of my clients come back on a regular basis, monthly, couple months, every 3 months. And then the rest are like once a year.
Okay.
Recently, I've had this weird thing where I've had clients that I hadn't talked to in like 4 years, and they're coming back and telling me this happened, that happened, that everything happened. I'm like, okay, let's
Good,
go.
good problems to have. Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. So in the life coaching is where your heart is, it really sounds like. Just you lit up just talking about that just now.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Because I can watch it happen and be a part of watching it happen. I'll tell you this great story. One of my clients, she's from Canada. I'm in Canada, and but she's been in the UK and raising her children. Her children are born in the UK, and I've been reading for her for probably 5 years. And I told her 5 years ago when her daughter was, I don't know, 7 or 8. I said she's going to end up in the legal field, and I said to her son, I said your son's going to end up in social justice, really caring about what's going on in other countries in the world. So now, 5 or 6 years later, she's 12. She comes up, she goes, I never said anything because I really didn't want my daughter to become a lawyer. I think it's a awful, hard, difficult, criminal, all this kind of stuff. I didn't want her to, so I never said anything to her. She went up to her mom like 2 weeks ago, says, Mom, I think I want to become a lawyer. I want to help. And I said it would be family law. She goes, I want to help people divorce properly. And she didn't come from a divorced family. And she was like, oh my God, Holly. She's 13, I think 13 now. Her son just did an overseas experience, which I did predict would happen. And he came back and said, I want to take business and I want to work in economics because there's way too much suffering going on in the world. And I want to deal with like in politics, in the political end of it, with from country to country. And it was like, so just for me to see that, like this whole 5, 6 years unfolding and I just think, I just feel like I'm a fly on the wall and I get to be a part of somebody's life and somebody's soul mission and destiny. Her two kids have distinct soul destinies.
That is great. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay. Okay, so that's where your heart is. I understand. I got you. Anything else that I've left out in terms of your services?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
I want to make
No,
sure because I know there's a lot, but
I know. I could go
the
on and
life
on.
coaching, like I said, that's awesome. Um, Now let's talk a little bit about the podcast part. The show that you do. We do have a lot of podcasters who listen to this, so I need to cover a
Yeah.
couple of things for those folks. You had the background in radio, so I'm guessing that the transition over was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
and
enjoyed it.
you
Yeah.
knew about your equipment already, I'm guessing also. So you didn't have
Yes.
any hard time with that. Now, did you go out and buy some expensive stuff because you were used to using some good stuff on the radio station, or did you go on the cheap and use your phone? How'd you start your podcast?
I went through a lot of microphones. Honestly, I went through just even soundproofing this room was so much work. I had to like carpet after carpet, and then I had to put a chair over there, and then I had to put this some kind of I really had to sound so there wasn't any echo in the room.
Hmm.
And then going through microphone because okay, okay, this answers your last question a little bit more. I also do meditation. So I record meditations
Okay,
for a place called Insight Timer. And all my dynamic mics that I was getting for podcast was not working for my meditations. So this one here is a Shure mic. It's really cool. It looks like antique. Uh, and it's not a dynamic. It's oh my God, there's another name for it. I can't think of it. But these are what I need for meditations. So I had to combine the two. The I realized I didn't like the video on my MacBook, so I got a separate camera. But when I
oh,
did the
okay,
radio, I did have some like it plugged into like an equalizer in that, but I'm not really that good at that. So I need a plug and play. So this works. I think it works
good,
well,
good.
finally. And the lighting set up. There's a podcaster that I like. His name is Lex Friedman. And he has this kind of setup, this black setup. And I fell in love with it. So I was trying to kind of reinvent what he did.
Well, your setup looks great, especially from over
Thanks.
here on my side. I mean, anybody who's watching the visual, display of this will see it also, but it looks great. I mean, it really is fitting. It's a little mysterious, and
Yeah.
but you stand out fine. You look great, and yeah, the candles and the whole bit, and the book standing up. That was a nice touch. Made me think
The
of it like
lighting
10
took me a
times.
long time to figure out because I always wear glasses. I don't wear glasses like doing regular things, but for my computer I use glasses.
Right.
And I had to get the glasses that don't have glare. That took a while to figure out. And now I had lights coming this way and I didn't like that. I had too much light, natural lighting coming in because it was reflecting off my glasses, so I have to darken that. And now I just take a large filtered type stand up lighting and I reflect it onto a big white board. And so the white board reflects the lighting on me and it's much softer. It's a much
Nice.
softer lighting.
Good tip
Yeah.
for people. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel you on the glasses. I wear them for reading, up close work, stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
have to have them on or I can't see my screen to do what
Yeah.
I have to
Same.
do. And yeah. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, when you have your lighting on and everything else, and then the computer's shining off your glasses and you're just like trying to figure out where to put your head. So it's the struggle's
And you
real.
have smaller glasses, so you have less, real estate to worry about. And I
True.
got these big glasses, so like the lighting's coming. If I tilt my head up, you can see it, right? So I have to keep that lower. What lighting do you have?
Yeah, I use the standard ring light type stuff. And I just have to
Oh,
position it off where I'm looking so that it's not always hitting right into my glasses and reflecting
well,
back
good
on the
job.
computer. But it took a
Good
little
job.
doing, yeah, for sure. But the struggle is real, for us
The struggle is
podcasters.
real
Not a
because
joke.
your location, everybody's location is different.
Oh
And
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
Okay, and so you've how many episodes have you got out on this thing so far? Any idea?
On the Intelligent Soul, which is embedded in my astrology one where I
Hmm.
interview people. I've interviewed fascinating people. You guys gotta, and I can't even believe some of the people I interviewed Raymond Moody and he's coming back. Like Raymond Moody coined the term NDE, near death experience
Hmm.
in the 70s. Like, I can't believe he said yes. And he said yes the second time. Uh, I interviewed a lady that is in the UK. She's on Gaia TV. She's got documentaries on there where she talks about how she teaches kids how to read blindfolded. You guys got to Carolyn Corey did a documentary called Superhuman, and it's in there. It's not Carolyn Corey that I interviewed, but it was somebody that was in her documentary. So that's in the Intelligent Soul. I'd say I have about 15 episodes, maybe. I don't know. I didn't do the math. Probably 15,
Okay.
16. So I only do like once or twice a month.
Right.
And I just got heavy into that podcasting platform just a few months ago.
Okay. Got it. All right. But you've been doing this for a little while, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the other stuff that has to do with astrology and I do the editing of it. I love the editing part of it. Uh I do all kinds of crazy things about astrology and what's going on in the world and global news and my downloads that I receive and it's a lot of times around elections and politics and everything. That's how I'll do like chart readings. I've done chart reading on Lady Diana and then the whole thing was going on with the scandal with the Queen and Harry and Meghan, and I did readings on them and put it up there. I'm going to tell you something crazy about that. And then I've pretty much looked at all the politicians, and I did Trump's reading, and I did, Elon's reading, and I look things up, people that are famous, and look them up and do readings on them. And I do all kinds of stuff on there. I actually got recently interviewed by a real estate agent. So he's got about 30,000 followers and I started following him, real estate that's going on in Canada. So in his comment box, I said, "Hey, my predictions are similar to yours. What's going to happen with the real estate market?" And he goes, "Oh, wow, I should interview you." And I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "This will be fun because my people are really mainstream and they're going to not like it, but he likes to like shake things up." Which is what happened, but I got like 30 clients from that interview
That's
even though
great.
everybody was like just beating them up, beating both of us up in the comment section. And then I had him on because I was doing real estate predictions for people and financial predictions for people. So that was really cool. But the Meghan Markle thing, so when Meghan Markle got married to Harry, uh, that was a long time ago. Right before they were even married, I did a reading on her and I did it on Blog Talk Radio. Do you know what Blog Talk Radio is?
I've heard that
Yeah.
phrase. It's I don't know exactly what it is though. No.
That was the original sort of audio only podcasting platform. And it was cool because it's still there because people can call you on your Blog Talk phone number and you can have like a live call-in show. And
Hmm.
so I did there was not much platforms out there and YouTube wasn't really catching on for this kind of stuff yet. So I did a Markle and I had said that everything that happened, I said that she was the queen and her, even though this is not too public, but the queen and her weren't going to get along. She was going to fight against the whole family. The family was going to diss her. They weren't going to like her coming in and ruffling up feathers. She doesn't put up with crap. And that she's going to try to drag Harry away from it. Well, when it all came out, I went back to Blog Talk Radio because I hadn't been on it for a while. All my stuff was there, but that podcast was gone. It
Oh,
was
you're
gone.
kidding me.
It just, the one podcast just disappeared. So then I started searching it in Google and I would see a Holly Hall show, Meghan Markle. Then I would click on it and it would be gone. And I was, it wasn't that famous. It wasn't that popular, but it blew me away that it just disappeared. Because I wanted to
See,
prove to
yeah,
everybody, like, look at what I did. I predicted this like a long time ago, right?
that stuff
It was
doesn't
gone.
happen on accident.
No, it doesn't happen because
No, it doesn't happen on
everything
accident.
else is there.
Well, somebody didn't want that getting out.
I know it was really, really weird, really weird, but hey, I guess it's a compliment.
Honestly, yeah, if nobody's shooting at you, then you're not in the game. So
Yeah,
good for you.
exactly.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but I mean that does say an awful lot about how good the prediction was. If
Yeah,
someone else decided it didn't need to be aired to the
maybe she
public,
got rid
so
of it. Well, they do
yikes.
go and scrape Google. Google gets scraped all the time from information, and
Right.
and I think it's automated. So if somehow she wanted some stuff scraped, they just go in, and I got in that, you know,
Yep.
algorithm scraping job. I don't know how they do it. Then I'm gone.
You got
Right?
scraped. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, I think that you and I were
Be
talking
a
about
support group for that.
some other government program last time we had this going. They were doing testing or something on psychics. I'm not sure. My memory just sort of, gets away from me.
That's the
But
remote viewing. That's the
see,
Stargate
that was
program.
you. That was you. You and I were
Yeah.
having that conversation last time.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was a Stargate program, and you can find it. I downloaded it. They released it. It's not um I don't know what the government calls it when they don't allow something to come out, and I'm just lost for words right now. I know what it is.
Hmm.
Classified. So they declassified it. So now you can read it online. And you just look at, but you'll probably see the Stargate program that's out now. Like Trump just came out and they're calling it the Stargate program with AI and medical. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's not what the Stargate program was. But they constantly rename and change what programs are under. But anyways, yeah, Men That Stare at Goats. That movie with George Clooney was about the Stargate program. It's a true story
Hmm.
about how they took all the FBI, CIAs and taught them how to remote view. You should watch the movie. It's very funny actually.
No, I wrote this down last time because I hadn't heard of the movie. And then I was like, I know there was a movie in my head. And you're going, up Men That Stare at Goats with George Clooney. And I'm like, this time I'm writing it down. Okay. And we're going to get this
It's
because
a
I do want
stupid
to check
name,
it
but
out.
part of the remote viewing was to do with goats. So and you watch the whole movie just to see where did this title come from.
I'm definitely looking
Right.
that up. It's kind of funny. I had a couple of episodes where I came back and my VA that helped me out when I was sick, nobody could explain it. They were just corrupted and we just couldn't
Wow.
do anything with them. And I
Mine
didn't,
was one of them.
yours was one of them. And we were talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you don't always put those hands together right away until
Divine
you have
intervention.
another conversation and you go, wait a minute, you know,
Divine intervention.
uh,
Meant to
let's
be.
let's go with that. Let's go
We'll
with
go with
that.
that one.
We'll go with that. That doesn't upset me anywhere near as much as Google scraping. So we'll stick with that. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I always ask this one corny question, and I'm sure I asked it to you last time, but it's kind of a mainstay thing now. Now it's kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger's "I'll be back" deal, and I just have to make sure I ask this in every single podcast to stay consistent with
Okay.
the podcasting portion of what it is you do. And I know that's a lot because you've got a lot of different, tangents and vectors that you work off of. But with the podcasting portion of what you do, what is it about that you love the most? And what is it about that you just hate the most?
I would say specifically with the intelligent soul, I love bringing on people that prove that there is a segment of the being of who we are that isn't obvious in the world that we live in, such as remote viewing, children seeing blindfolded, you know, uh, people being able to have near-death experiences and see what's going. I've got a few of those on there. I want your soul to realize there's a highly intelligent segment of who you are that's blindfolded, and there's blinders on it, and it's from our society. So I love to interview people that can show you that there is more to life than just this mainstream matrix that we live in.
Hmm.
The part that I don't like is trying to find guests. And I like the editing part, but I think trying to find guests and hooking all that up, I need to hire someone for that because I don't want to do that part.
Like
I
trying to
know who
find
I
guests.
want. I know who I want, but I'd rather someone else like, okay, get me these people.
Interesting. It's funny that you say it about the editing because you've said it a couple times about how much you love it. That's if I had to Family Feud this question, top five answers on the board. Number one answer is what do I hate the most?
The
Editing.
editing.
It's like hands down the number one answer I get from
I
podcasters.
love it. I gave somebody the job to edit and they
Uh,
could not do it the way I would have wanted done. Because
why?
there was things I know while I'm doing an interview, I know what I'm going to edit. Like as I'm interviewing them, I'm like, gonna edit that out,
Wow.
gonna highlight this. And then I like listening to it again because now you're listening to it as a third party. You're watching yourself interview someone
Mhm.
and you're getting more out of it as you're listening to it. And then it's creative for me. So I like the creative process of it. But I'm
Wow.
not going to edit yours, Rory.
Well,
Too busy.
I was going to say, I don't edit. I just
I
don't. I
did.
mean, I know how,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
because you have to know how,
Yeah.
but I just don't. Because, I mean, I have, 9, 10 interviews in a day sometimes. I'm not going to
Yeah.
go through and edit every single one of those for every oops,
No.
and.
No.
I'm like, nope. You know what? It's just
No.
authentic. It's a conversation, and I just leave it be. But you actually love it.
I do.
Wow.
I do.
That's
And if you can get someone, like if I got that busy, I would hire an editor too. But the person needs to know your style and what your interest is, and they need to know what to highlight and what to take out. Like you really got to have that person well trained in it,
yeah.
don't you think?
I would think you would have to. I'm
Yeah.
such a control freak. I don't think I could let that part go. Just because
So
very
you do
often
edit your own.
I don't edit. But if I were to edit, I would only edit
Okay.
my own. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I prefer to not edit on my own. I would
Right.
never let someone else edit my stuff
I
because
know I'm a
I
control
would
freak
lose
too.
my mind. I'd be
So
crazy.
yeah, I'm
There's
guilty.
a dramatic pause that is supposed to be in there, and then there's the I forgot what I was going to say dramatic pause.
Yeah.
So
Edit that out.
only I know what those are.
Yeah,
So it's like
absolutely.
I could never trust somebody else with that. I'd lose my mind. So
Yeah, that's me. I couldn't either. Like I said, I tried to pass it off to somebody. I hired somebody and it just
yeah.
didn't work out. I'm a control freak
Good
too.
for you though that you're just embracing that control freak in you, and saying, "Hey, I'm going to just love it anyway and go ahead and do this editing." That's beautiful.
Yeah, most self-employed people have that control. In astrology, it's a Saturn or Capricorn energy. And if you've got that really strong in your chart, then you need to be self-employed. You need to work for yourself and do your own shit.
I'll bet that shows up in my chart someplace.
I bet
Yeah,
it does.
when we have that conversation. All right, let me ask you one more question. The you've been doing this a while in terms of podcasting, all the way back to the radio station, everything else. So I would consider you to be accomplished in the field. You're not a newbie. You're not trying to figure out how to use your microphone.
I've
You
been around
actually
the block.
you
Yeah, a few
love
times.
editing, which I have to keep saying it so it becomes real to me because I can't believe somebody loves editing.
Because you can't believe it. She's like, what?
I'm trying to come to
Means you
grips with
like
that
to work
reality.
out? You like to be on diets? And you like to edit? No.
It's about the
Who
same
does
pain
that?
threshold. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're established. And so, what is one piece of advice that you could offer out to any podcaster out there who, what doesn't matter if they're doing a YouTube or an audio or a visual, but they're doing a show and they're not where you are yet? What's one pearl of wisdom, one piece of advice you can give them to make their day better?
Ooh, that's a hard one, Rory. Um, I thought of two, and then the way you ended it, I was like, okay, that's not going to be the answer.
Oh, well, no, hey,
Because
don't let the
I
end of
was
it.
going to be more like around technique. Like it drives me crazy when people don't have their video up high enough, their camera, and I'm looking up at this stuff, so they have their camera down too low. And I like to have a good background, a nice background. I don't, but those are the two things. And I think to make their life, and it really complements the guest as well when you look professional. The second is don't talk more than your guest. Don't talk more than your guest. Yeah. Have a good even conversation. You don't want the guest to totally take over. You
Sure.
want it to be a conversation, but don't talk way more than your guest.
That's beautiful. Listen to your guest. Let them tell their story.
Yep.
Good stuff. I haven't had anybody give advice on the angle of the camera. And that's such a 101 thing that people really do need to kind of get,
Well, yeah, I can
so
take my camera off and it's like if it's like this, and I'm looking down, this is eye level to me,
mhm.
but it's much more uh it looks a lot more inviting when it's just a little bit above your eyes, which is where most people are looking sort of at you or down. I don't know. It's just and you can see your whole background. I'm not looking up at you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great advice. Okay, that's cool. I haven't
It's
heard
very
either of those
flattering
things.
too.
That's there we go. All right. One last chance. Anything that I have been remiss upon and not mentioned that you want to make sure you get out to everybody who's listening today?
Get one 15-minute reading with me. I have many readings. If you're not sure, I don't know, I'm scared. Don't be scared. I don't tell you your life is destined and it's never going to change. If anything, I give people, you thought your life was going to always be one disaster after the other, or I'm always going to feel unhappy because this is who I am. I help you see this huge bird's eye view and how much more options, how much more real estate you have in your life, how much more options you have. And if you're second guessing it, I have a 15-minute reading, $33, and I talk nonstop for 15 minutes about whatever questions you want to ask me, and I send it to you in an email. It's just recorded. It's just me. And a lot of my regular clients use that a lot because they don't want to engage in a 1 hour conversation. They just want an answer and they just want to hear me talk about it. Just do that. Just give it a try. Give it a shot.
And that's accessible through
AskHollyHall.com.
AskHollyHall.com. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad that you put
Thank
that out
you.
there. All right. And Holly, one more time, thank you for your patience in all this stuff and getting back on the show and
Easy.
being so
Easy with you,
gracious.
Rory. You're awesome.
I appreciate that. So are you. Really and truly. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
Folks, this has been another awesome episode of The Podcaster Nation with yet another awesome podcaster, Holly Hall. Um, this is the place where we come together, we support each other, we help each other out. This is the podcast that's for podcasters, it's about podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And last but not least, and most certainly, this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.